Hi, so today I want to discuss the 3DS, more specifically the new Nintendo 2DS. So I'm Joseph Michael. Before we actually get into it, let's go over some basic information. So the base model, the 3DS, first came out on March 27th, 2011, with the new 3DS coming out on, actually for North America, the new 3DS XL came out before the general standard model, and the new 3DS XL came out on February 13th, 2015, 15th, excuse me, with the general model coming out that same year on September 25th, 2015. I personally did get the so my 3DS or my DS journey is a little bit awkward. I did have a DS, but I never really got into it, so I did sell it fairly early. When the 3DS came out, I was just really intrigued because I'm a huge Fire Emblem fan. That's probably the only reason why I still own Nintendo franchises. Excuse me. That's probably the only reason why I still own Nintendo. Not even franchises. Excuse me. Nintendo consoles is due to that franchise, that specific franchise, Fire Emblem. I do own a Switch because of Fire Emblem. And when the Fire Emblem Awakening got announced, I was really excited for that, and that's why I got a 3DS. I did upgrade to the new 3DS XL. I never did get a 3DS XL, the base model, when that got the bigger version. But I did upgrade to the new 3DS. I was forced to get the XL. I was never really a big fan of the bigger versions just because when it comes to my handheld consoles, I much prefer them to be smaller. I like to take them out with me. Put them in my pocket. With the XL, it's just a little bit depending on one's pockets. They might be able to fit. But again, I just much prefer the compact size. Also, to be frank with everyone, the 3DS XL, excuse me, the new 3DS XL, because that's the one that I had personally. That's the one that I have personal experience with. I just feel like it was a little bit too heavy. Maybe my hands are just weak or whatever. But I did start feeling some not pain, but just tiredness, I suppose, holding up my 3DS either on bed, mostly on bed when I'm holding it up like this, or I'm on the sofa holding up like this. But when I'm just holding it in a regular position, it was fine. But yes, that's the reason why I quote unquote downgraded to the new 2DS. Also, the reason why I didn't get the new 3DS, so just the standard model with 3D, is because I never used the 3D personally when I had the 3DS, and also when I had the new 3DS XL. I never did use the 3D. I did use it just to check it out sometimes, but it was just something that I was never really intrigued personally. So that's why that's why I opted for the new 2DS. Yeah, I have no regrets about that. But this is really a great system. Personally, the handhelds that I own are the PlayStation Vita, the PlayStation Portable, or the PSP, and the new 2DS. And I'm not going to lie, between those three handhelds, my new 2DS probably gets the most gameplay, just because a lot of my Vita games I do own for my PS4, or also because I already beat those Vita games, for like Legend of Heroes, Trials of Cold Steel. I've already beaten that. I've also beaten Trials in the Sky on my PSP. When I want to replay those games, I'm not going to lie, I do it on my PS4, since that's the I was going to say remastered, but that's the upgraded edition. It's sped up. One has the option to speed up the traveling. And there's also little quality of life improvements like that. And also, as I said, I'm a huge Fire Emblem fan. So obviously on my 2DS, I have played Fire Emblem Awakening, Fire Emblem Fates, all three, Birthright, Conquest, and Revelation. The only one I haven't beaten yet, but I'm about halfway through, is Fire Emblem Echoes, Shadows of Valencia. And of course, beyond that, I also have played Radiant Hysteria. I'm not going to lie, despite me saying that I have a lot of playing time on my new 2DS, or just the DS, the 3DS in general. I haven't really beaten a lot of the franchises, unfortunately. I'm one of those individuals who I do own games, but I have a bad habit of not completing those games. I am trying to change that, and hopefully some of those more completed games will be coming from the the 3DS family, not just my console family. But currently, right now, I'm not going to lie, because of the announcement of the closure. Well, actually, the announcement of the 3DS eShop closure and the Wii U eShop closure was announced last year. But that's finally going into action tomorrow in North America. If one lives in Europe, that's actually today, March 26th. If one lives in North America, that will be tomorrow, March 27th at 5 p.m. And so the console officially got discontinued. Oops, pardon me, wrong notebook. Officially got discontinued on September 16th, 2020. But I feel like this, with the closure of the eShop, it's now truly the quote unquote death of the Wii U and the 3DS/2DS family. But I say death in quotation marks just because even though the eShop is closing, I will still be playing my 2DS. Even though it's been discontinued, I'll still be playing it. Even though I've beaten Fire Emblem, I'm still going to be replaying it. In fact, I'm doing a replay right now. I'm really hoping to do a brief review video for Awakening. Actually, no, I'm starting with Fates first. I should start with Awakening first, right? But I'm doing Fates just because that's kind of like the black sheep of the Fire Emblem 3DS family. Um, Beyond that, the other games that I do own, I do have. So when it comes to games for my 3DS, I'm going to share some of them. I'm not going to lie. I primarily do get my games digitally for my 3DS. I made that decision when Pokemon X first came out, just because usually Nintendo games don't go on sale. And to be frank, if I have a handheld system, I much prefer just to take it out with me. It's a bit of a pain to take out the cartridge and put it in when one is out and about. So that's why I opted to go digitally. Also, beyond that, I just prefer for my collection. I'm just worried about the future. I shouldn't be that worried because it's the future. I should pay attention to the present. But I'm just concerned about issues with functionality. Light research suggests that cartridges might be better than discs, but I don't have any DVDs. Well, I do have some, but not many. My collection's primarily Blu-ray, my PS4 and PS3. And I'm just not really a big fan of cartridges just because I don't like for DS games, I don't like the fact that they save on the cartridge itself. When it comes to 3DS games, the saves actually save onto the console if you have space, or onto your memory. Of the newer versions, they have internal memory, but it's not very big. It's only about, I think, 2 or 4 gigabytes. And so again, when it comes to the 3DS games, the saves are not saved on the cartridge. It's saved on the console itself, or the memory card. And I much prefer that, especially for backing up memory. But again, when it comes to 3DS, excuse me, I don't know why I keep saying again. I'm especially going to make it a new point. But when it comes to, despite this, that when it comes to 3DS, I still didn't choose to go with cartridges just because, again, there I go, saying that word once again. Pardon me, everyone. I'm going to do my best to not say that anymore. It's early in the morning for me, so maybe I just need to have my cup of tea and my breakfast. Anywho, but let me go ahead and share my games that I do own. So I'm going to be a little bit unorthodox. I'm going to share my DS games first because I don't own a DS. I own my 2DS, but this does play DS games, obviously. So I'm going to begin with Advance Wars Dual Strike. So I love this game. I did grow up with the Game Boy Advance version. Not the first one, more the second one. Dark Days, Advance Wars 2, Dark Days. Or I can't remember the proper name, but I am excited for the re-release on Switch. Really was looking forward to that, but unfortunately, due to social current events or political events, pardon me, that game was postponed to this year. It was supposed to come out last year, but I'm looking forward to it very much. So, in addition to Advance Wars Dual Strike, I also do have Advance Wars Days of Ruin. So this is the sequel to Dual Strike. Between these two, I'm not going to lie, I do prefer the story for Days of Ruin more. It's a little bit darker, a little bit quote-unquote more mature. But with that being said, I do feel like Dual Strike has more content. So that's something to keep in mind. But I do recommend both games. I think they're both a lot of fun. And continuing forward, I do have Pokemon Platinum. So I'm not really a huge Pokemon fan, but I did grow up with Yellow, Blue, Sapphire, Ruby, and so forth. When it came to the DS games, though, I kind of fell off that wagon. But I always hear how Pokemon Platinum is a really great game. So this is from the handheld systems. I've yet to have completed this, but I am looking forward to it. I've also heard that the Switch version is much more easier, unfortunately. And also, to be honest, I'm not a big fan of that chibi art style. So I'm really happy I do have the DS version. I'm just reorganizing my games over here. I have them right here, but right side up, I'm putting them upside down just to keep them in order. The next one that I have is, of course, Pokemon Soul Silver. So again, while I did play the original, I did not play the Soul Silver version. I'm really looking forward to that. I remember as a kid when I first got to Kanto, That was an awesome surprise. And every Pokemon game after that, a part of me always hoped that something similar would occur going back to the previous land, but unfortunately, Nintendo, or rather Game Freak, has yet to have done that element again. I have Pokemon Conquest. I'm a big RPG fan. That includes RTS and SRPGs and any type of RPG in general. And so this is a spin-off for Pokemon. If one enjoys Fire Emblem, they might enjoy this. It's a SRPG, and it's set during feudal period, so medieval Japan. And I haven't played it yet, but it's definitely something that I'm looking forward to. It doesn't really get discussed too often, I've noticed, and that's either a good or a bad thing, right? A good thing because that means it's a hidden gem, or a bad thing because it just means that it's not that great, right? Hopefully it's the former, not the latter. This one I've had for a while. This is probably one of the original games that I had on my DS. But The World Ends With You, I just never sold it because I've always heard that it has a great story. I did start playing it way back when, but I never finished it. I do want to finish it. I don't have the Switch version because I have heard that supposedly the DS version is just the optical way to play this game. This is my last DS game, so of course Fire Emblem Shadow Dragon. Unfortunately, I have a storied past with this game specifically. I did own it back then, bought it brand new, but of course I sold it when I sold some of my DS games, or rather my DS in general. So again, I did have the DS for a bit, but then I decided to sell it. But I got back into it with the 3DS, and unfortunately, I had to repurchase it. But I got very fortunate. I found a great used copy that's like new, that comes with all the. I'm trying to open it. Okay, there you go. It was. I don't open these too often because I put the games in a case. All my cartridge games, my Vita, 3DS, DS, and my Switch games are in a little pouch. Not a pouch, but a separate case. A pouch case. But it came with everything, so that's pretty cool. I think it even came with like the warnings and all that. Yeah, it did. Well, you can't really see it. Well, I guess since I already have it out, I'll just take it out. But the instruction booklet and the little extra manuals with it too. For me, all I really cared about was just the instruction booklet. But it's nice to have I suppose, a complete inbox set. What's pretty cool, since I have it open too, but the DS cartridges or boxes, excuse me, is the fact that they had a little space for Game Boy Advance games. I thought that was pretty cool. Back in the day when Nintendo kept their fan base in mind, right? Not the way that they are today, unfortunately. Now moving on to my 3DS game. So if I could go back in time, this was before I decided to get this physically, just because I heard that it was really big internally. I forgot how many gigabytes it's worth, but if I could go back in time, I probably would get this digitally instead of physically, but I don't regret having it in my collection. It's the Xenoblade Chronicles 3D. I do have the Switch version, so that's probably going to be... This game will probably be something I'm not going to play, or if I do play, it'll be far in the future after I beat the Switch version, just to see the differences between the two. And then my last 3DS game, this one I did not buy personally. I got it as a birthday gift, but it's New Super Mario Brothers 2. And to be frank, the only reason why I haven't sold it is because it was gifted to me. But if it wasn't for that, I probably would sell this off. It's not that I don't like Super Mario Brothers, the series. It's just that on my 3DS, I do own the classic series digitally. So Mario Brothers, Mario Brothers 2, Super Mario Brothers 3. Oh no, my cat. She's rubbing against it. Super Mario 3, Super Mario World, and yeah. So I do prefer that franchise more. But with that being said, it is a fun little game. If one enjoys Mario, obviously, they're more than likely going to enjoy this as well. So those are my games that I own physically. Again, most of my 3DS games I own digitally, and I'm not going to go through the list, but I'll just name off. Of course, I do have the Pokemon games, both the 3DS and the Virtual Console versions. I also do. I already stated Radiant Hysteria. I cannot praise that game enough. If one has not yet checked it out, I highly recommend it. If one lives in North America, this video will be posted today. So hopefully, if one watches this, they'll check out Radiant Hysteria and buy that digitally because it is expensive, unfortunately, physically. I also do have Luigi's Mansion just because I know I'm not going to get a GameCube. But I always did want to play Luigi's Mansion. That's a game that was always piqued my interest. I also have Super Smash Brothers. That was so I did have a Wii U for a bit, but I sold it off just because I wasn't a big fan of the games that were coming out for it. So I didn't think I was going to get another Nintendo console again. This is before the Switch, so that's why I got Super Smash Brothers for the 2DS/3DS, and yeah, I'm just thinking of, you know what? Pardon me, everyone. Let me just pull up I actually do have a list where I save all my digital purchases. So let me go ahead and pull that up really quickly. I actually already have it right here. So right off the bat, I'm just going to go off the list. So I do, how could I forget about this? Bravely Default 1 and 2. I haven't beaten either of them, unfortunately, but from what I have played for the first one, I did enjoy it. Again, I started playing these games during a time in my life where I was still playing games, but actually I was very close to selling off my PS3 and my Xbox 360, but I made the choice not to. One of my friends convinced me, because they've seen me sell off games before in the past, and then I just ended up buying them again. So they convinced me to hold off for a bit, wait until I was done with school, or at least started a new chapter in my educational career. And I'm glad that I did wait. Continuing forward, I do have Code of Princess. That's from Atlas. That's the only reason why I do have that game. But to be frank, I'm gonna go back in time. I'm not really into hack and slash games, but it's a fun little game. I do play it here and there when I want something just quick. But yeah, Dragon Quest 7 and 8, of course. Two games I'm looking forward to beating. I did start 7. I'm following a guide for that. Donkey Kong Country 3D, Atrian Odyssey 4. I already talked about Fire Emblem. Obviously, I have all of them. Kid Icarus Uprisings. That's a really interesting game because a lot of people point out that the way that one needs to hold it, I'm like manipulating my hands. The way that one needs to hold it, it's just a little bit awkward. You shoot with the triggers and you move with the control stick, and you aim with the stylus, and so you do kind of have to maneuver yourself in a position to play accurately. But it is a fun little game. It's also made by the I don't know, it's Sakura, the individual who made Super Smash Brothers. So that's something to keep in mind. I already mentioned Luigi's Mansion, Mario and Luigi Saga. So I did play the Game Boy Advance version. And so when they remade that for the DS, it's not the first one. I think it's the sequel. That's why I got it for nostalgia purposes. I've yet to have played the 3DS version, though. The DS version, though. I think it is a 3DS version. Excuse me. Mario and Luigi's Bowser's Inside Story, plus Bowser Jr.'s Journey, and then lastly Mario and Luigi Dream Team. I'll get more into that in my other video when I talk about the Nintendo eShop closer for my Thinking About video. Mario Kart 7, that actually came with my 2DS. I'm not usually into racing games, kart racers, but I am happy that I do own it. Just again, just like with Code of Princess, whenever I want something just quick, something just that won't take very long, a quick race is always really nice to do. Metroid Samus Returns, I just purchased that, but I've heard great things about it. Monster Hunter 3 Ultimate, so I got that way back when just because I heard supposedly, I've always heard great things about the Monster Hunter series, and I wanted to try it for myself. Unfortunately, I don't think it's for me. It's the only Monster Hunter game that I've played, and well, actually that's not true. I have tried out the PSP versions as well. Freedom Unite, I believe it's called Freedom Unite, and unfortunately, yeah, Monster Hunter is just not my series. I also do own Pokemon X, Alpha Sapphire, Moon, Ultra Sun, and of course Bank and Transporter. Those are all Pokemon games. Project X Zone, because I am an RPG fan, that's why I own it. I do regret I gave the sequel. Unfortunately, they got delisted. Shin Megami Tensei 4, Shin Megami Tensei 4 Apocalypse, Devil Summoner 2, Strange Journey, Soul Hackers, Star Fox 64. Before I continue with Star Fox, I played the 4th SMNT. I've yet to have played Apocalypse, and when it comes to Devil Summoner, I'm in the middle of a playthrough for that. But I've yet to have played Devil Summoner 2. I did start it just to get the DLC, but besides for that, I haven't done a proper playthrough of it. And same thing for Strange Journey and Soul Hackers. But the reason why I own this series is because again, I'm a big RPG fan, and I always hear great things about Shin Megami Tensei. Star Fox 64. I did choose to purchase this myself. Fox was one of my characters I really enjoyed using in Super Smash Brothers. So when I had the opportunity to play one of his classic games, I went ahead and did so. I did play Star Fox Adventures and Star Fox Assault for the GameCube, but I would argue that they're not at the classic level, or rather they're not on the status of classics at the at the same degree that the original Star Fox and Super Star Fox is for the Super Nintendo. I forget what they're called, excuse me. Stella Glow, it's a new game that I purchased, one that I heard great things about. Usually I get right into the chibi art style, but I heard good things about this, so I decided just to bite the bullet. I already mentioned Super Smash Brothers, Radiant Hysteria. Oh, then of course Legend of Zelda: A Link Between Worlds, Legend of Zelda: Ocarina of Time, Legend of Zelda: Majora's Mask. I'm not going to lie, Ocarina of Time and Majora's Mask, those were last minute purchases. I decided to get those because I had a feeling I might regret not getting those. I never played those personally when I had a Nintendo 64. I got my Nintendo 64 late into its life cycle, and so that's why I never got into Ocarina of Time or Majora's Mask. I played it, but I never owned it. So I made the choice to go ahead and own it, or else I might regret it in the future, especially after the eShop closure. A Link Between Worlds, I did play the original SNES version. Well, no, I didn't. I played the Game Boy Advance remake. I did enjoy it. A Link Between... No, what's that one called? A Link to the Past, I believe it's called. And so I haven't played A Link Between Worlds yet, but I do hear great things about this. We're now moving on to my virtual console. Before I do, there's one game I'm still considering purchasing. It's Luigi's Mansion 2 Dark Moon. I'm not 100% sure if I want that yet, just because I've heard that it's mostly focused on puzzles. I'm not a big puzzle fan, but I do hear good things in general about the game, so I'm still doing some light research to decide if I should put a bullet or not. Moving on to the virtual console, so I have Breath of Fire 1 and 2, Castlevania 3, Defenders of Oasis for the Sega Genesis, the Game Gear, Sega Game Gear, Donkey Kong Country 1 through 3, Earthbound, Gargoyles Quest 1 and 2, Demon's Quest, Bufia, Kirby Dream Land 1 and 2, Mario Golf, Mario Tennis. Yeah, I highly recommend Mario Tennis. If one owns a Wii U, I highly also recommend Advanced Mario Tennis. It's actually an RPG, and I was shocked to discover that way back when, but it's a really fun game. I got Mario Golf just because it is made by the same people who made Mario Tennis, and I heard it also has RPG elements. So I'm hoping it's going to be a surprise hit for myself personally. Mega Man 2 through 6. Mega Man 7, I separated that because 2 through 6 is on the NES. Mega Man 7, X through X3. Mega Man 5 for the Game Boy. I got that one because Mega Man 5 has its own dedicated story. The other Mega Mans for the Game Boys apparently are either just reduced versions of the NES, or the Mega Man Extreme are just reduced versions of the SNES Mega Man X games. But Mega Man 5 for the Game Boy is its own iteration. Metroid 2 for the Game Boy, so I can compare the two when I finally do play Samus Returns. Ninja Gaiden 1 through 3. Pokemon Crystal, Yellow. Pokemon, the trading card game. I personally don't play the trading card game, but I've always had an interest in it. I did play Yu-Gi-Oh! Way back when, and I did play the Sacred Cards, or the Sacred Stones. The Sacred Cards and the Sacred Stones, I can't recall specifically, for the Game Boy Advance for Yu-Gi-Oh! Again, I'd rather just own it and not regret it if I didn't own it, so that's why I got it. I did do light research though, and supposedly it is a fun little game. Sonic Triple Trouble for the Game Gear, Sega Game Gear, Super Castlevania 4, Super Mario Brothers 2, Super Mario Land 3, Wario Land, Super Metroid 2. Oh, excuse me. Oh, yeah. I'm confusing the Game Boy game with the SNES, or Super Metroid, excuse me. Super Punch-Out, The Legend of Zelda: A Link to the Past, The Legend of Zelda: Link's Awakening, Legend of Zelda Seasons, The Legend of Zelda Ages, and last but not least, Wario Land 2 and 3. So I actually did grow up with Wario Land 2 and 3 in my Game Boy Color, so I got those for nostalgic purposes. If it wasn't for that, I probably would not have purchased that. But yeah, anywho, this was more a slight discussion of what I own for the 2DS. Would I recommend getting one? I would. I really would. Even though I haven't beaten a lot of franchises. Even though I haven't beaten a lot of franchises for the 3DS. It's Nintendo, and I'm not going to lie. I feel like it's not just my opinion, but it's a common opinion amongst Nintendo fans, or rather the Nintendo community. It feels like with the Wii U and the 3DS, those were the last consoles that Nintendo truly did quote unquote try. I kind of feel like Nintendo right now, they're kind of in a space where they know they have an audience, and the audience is very dedicated to them, and those people who are not dedicated to them, they're doing a good job with the Switch, that it's looking appealing. And even though I do own a Switch and I do enjoy it, there's just some practices that I don't appreciate that Nintendo is doing, and I just feel like they wouldn't do these kind of practices in the past. Really good example of this is the ambassador program. So when they realized that the 3DS was just too expensive, about 6 months into its release, they did the ambassador program. So that came out on January 28th, 2011, and essentially individuals were given free games to make up for the reduction of price that the base model was given. I feel like Nintendo probably wouldn't do something like that today. It's just a little bit unfortunate, but hopefully I'm wrong about that. Um, and yeah, so thanks so much for watching. If you have a 2DS, let me know if you own one as well. Let me know if you enjoy it. Let me know if you sold yours. And let me know what your favorite games you enjoy playing on your 2DS. Do you play it at home? Do you play it going out? I'll be honest, I mostly do play my handheld games at home, ironically. I used to take them out, but I'm now at the point where at my job, um, I don't really have time to play when I'm physically there, and so and plus when I play games, I like just to enjoy myself as well. So that's why I like to do my most of my gaming at home, even if I have the capacity or the opportunity to play it outside of the home setting. But with that being said, when I go on trips, when I go on either a holiday or a long day trip, and if I'm not driving, I'm a passenger, I do have my 2DS with me. So again, thanks for listening. I do appreciate it. Have a great day and take care.